Amen. We've got a little video message.
Well, hello, People's Church, and hello, Eden Partington. I'm so sorry that I can't be with you today to celebrate a wonderful 10 years of Eden Partington. What an occasion. It was actually 11 years ago that I moved to Partytown to form the Eden team. And it was a great time in our life. I remember my time in Partington with such great fondness. And Eden was such a important part of my life. There were so many really great things, fun things, exciting things that happened. I particularly remember with fondness Friday night detached, where we'd be out in any weather, just going out and meeting people where they were at, and of course heading back afterwards to Karen's for board games. Of course, it wasn't all plain sailing. There were difficulties, there were struggles, and there were challenges. But I remember my time in Partington with such fondness, with such joy. And I pray that as you celebrate these 10 years, as you look back and hopefully remember it with such joy, alongside the pain and the struggles and the difficulties, but as you look back, I pray that you will know God's faithfulness through it all. And of course, as you look forward to the next 10 years, knowing that there will be times of great joy, but there'll also be pain, struggles, challenges. Well, I pray that throughout that you will continue to know the faithfulness of God as you go out into Partington, sharing the good news of the gospel and sharing the joys of Jesus Christ. So keep on going, keep doing what you're doing, and please continue to know that God is with you as you go. We'll be praying for you, and we hope to come visit at some point, but we couldn't make it this weekend. But God bless and keep on keeping on.
So if you've not met Joe before, that is the famous Ginger Joe, as he was known with the young people. He was the first Eden team leader here in Partington. Um, so today we're celebrating our 10th birthday. And it's about 10 years since we had our official launch as an Eden team. It's actually like 11 years since Joe started the work here and built a little team of people who were mainly from this church initially, and then others of us joined later on. Um, so I'd imagine the story probably starts even earlier than 11 years ago. Um, with Jonathan coming to you guys with an idea, coming to this church with an idea of like, let's do Eden. We think it'd be really good to like get more youth workers into church, to be able to reach more young people, to be able to get a bit of funding to help us with that. Let's start an Eden team. And thankfully the church discussed that and prayed into that and decided that that was a good way forward. And then it was about just over 10 years that I moved into Partington to become part of this team. So I'm so glad that you decided Eden was a good idea, because I love being part of this church. I love being part of this work. And yeah, I just went to Message HQ and said, send me somewhere in the Northwest, and visited a few places. And the moment I stepped into this church, it just felt like home. You guys made me feel so welcome. And over the last 10 years, we've had team members that have joined and stayed for the traditional 5-year commitment that you're meant to commit to join an Eden team, and more than that. We've had team members that have tried it and it's not been for them. We've had team members who've done it as a year out, or they've come and joined us as part of a placement for their studies, whether that's been for 3 years or for 3 months. And we've had loads of volunteers from within the church family as well, who've just really supported and got plugged into everything we've done. And this service today is celebrating all that God has done through all of that. And I've invited some of our old Eden team members to come and join us to give us a bit of a sense of like those early days. So Beth and Jerome, I'm not calling you old Beth, but yeah, Beth and Jerome, do you want to come up? Um, so Jerome and Beth are two of our longest serving team members. So Beth, first of all, I sent you some questions. They're on my phone. Great. How was Eden for you? What were some of your highlights? And how did it help, like being part of an Eden team, how did that help you grow in your faith as well?
Hello, it's really great to see everyone again. I have a bit wrote down everything that I was going to say, but I've forgotten it now because it's just very overwhelming to see all of your beautiful faces again. So yeah, came to Partington when I was 19, and I was part of the team for 7 years up until last year. And so really similar to Karen, whilst I did a gap year with the Message Trust, I visited a lot of different Eden teams around the country, but I had a placement in Partington and a mission week in Partington, and just loved the church and the community. So I decided that I wanted to invest in this community as well. And one of my favourite parts about being part of the Eden team is getting to work as a team. So with the Eden team that we were at the time, but also the church as well felt like part of the team because you really supported us, and we had kind of the same mission and goal to reach the community and young people in Partington. And I just really loved living in the same place that I was ministering to as well. And I've tried to take that with me to Stockport, where I am now, and take the same Eden ethos with me there to try and like live with the people that we want to hear about Jesus. And my favourite parts, I always talk about when we took the young people away, lots of different times. Like we've taken young people to a caravan in Wales. We've taken them to the Baptist Impact Weekend. We've taken them to random seaside towns in Merseyside. I can't remember why. But yeah, it was just really great. And sometimes it was some of the first time that young people had seen the sea, which was just crazy. And also we got to do like acts of kindness to random people that we would never meet again. So it's always great to see young people that sometimes were a bit grumpy, but then came alive, and we got to share with people and tell people about why we were giving them flowers randomly in West Kirby. But yeah, and actually this morning I've realised one of the best things is that I've been away for over a year, and I come back and there's still the same amazing young people here. They've not left, and there's new people as well, and that's just been amazing. Not that I thought the work would stop when I went away, but like it's just it was just great to see that the work is continuing, and it's really exciting to come back and see some new faces as well. Oh yeah,
Thanks, Beth. You can stay there. I don't mind. Jerome, you were here before me. You were part of this church when Eden started. Tell us a bit of your Eden experience, what's encouraged you, and what helped kind of grow you for what's next as well.
Yeah, so I went on a gap year with Genetic just before Eden, and that really impacted my faith and also my experience of sharing my faith with loads of young people and also other people with different backgrounds. And that really stood in my heart. So when there was an opportunity to do Eden Partington, because I moved to Partington in 2010, moved from South Africa in a very new sort of area, didn't know anyone. So the idea of doing Eden and Partington absolutely terrified me. Doing it in my own hometown and probably doing it in my own school. But I really loved it. I think it's one of those moments in my life where it really stood out as the most important part of my faith, because it built my faith and it really built the foundations to sort of help me move on to my new area in Northwich and sort of share my faith and my experience with loads of young people in that area. And, just the whole experience of being in this community and being in this church and then living in our sort of streets where we can connect with loads of like our neighbors and the young people that I knew because they're brothers and sisters I used to go to school with, and it was so weird, so it was amazing. But I absolutely loved that. And so it was a really important part of my faith doing that. I remember doing Detached for the first time and I absolutely hated every minute of it. But that for me was probably the main thing in the whole experience of Eden, which I absolutely loved doing. Going out on the streets, playing footy, and didn't know how to play footy, but I did. Broke some legs sometimes, never did, promise. But it was close to those moments. But I absolutely love doing Detached and meeting those young people and just meeting them where they're at, and that's the most important part. And those young people move from that to sort of grow up into really matured adults, which was good. So yeah, even in my really terrible, hard parts of my life when I was at the Christie having cancer, there was one young person there who was one of the young people that we actually worked with. And I met her there, and she was able to support me, which is really weird. But it was so good to meet someone there who knew me and, yes, she called me the bogey team, and as the common word we were called, but in a good way. But that was such a weird experience, but such a good experience. So yeah, I absolutely loved every moment being part of the team.
Thank you, guys. I am so grateful to you guys and other people who have just really served with Eden through the years, been really faithful. Like in the early days, we'd go out on Detached and maybe have one conversation, and it was really exciting. And there were times when it was tough going and there weren't many young people, and times when it was even tougher going because there were millions of young people. But so blessed by you guys just sticking at it. And of course, we talk about Eden as if everybody knows what it is. And I'm aware that there's been a lot of new people in church. There's been a lot of change in who's in church over the last 10 years. And of course, the story of Eden doesn't actually start here in Partington, because Eden first came about when the Message Trust came up with this idea that because they'd been sending Christian bands into schools, they'd been telling kids about Jesus, kids are like putting their hands up, going to these evangelistic concerts, making commitments to follow Jesus, and then rocking up at their local churches. And these little local churches were like, oh my word, what do we do with these scary teenagers? And so it was really hard for young people to stick at it with their faith because there wasn't the people with the resource there to support them. So the Message came up with this idea of like, let's move in herds of youth workers into these communities, into these estates, to support the young people who are making these commitments to faith, to help young people and their families to be growing up knowing Jesus, and to have that support to keep them going in that journey and in that discipleship. So that's kind of, it's where Eden came from, and it's why it's here. It's about supporting young people and the wider community around them. And I've just come back actually from an Eden Team Leaders residential where we had this complete refresher on what it means to be Eden, which was super helpful. And in a minute, some of the team are going to come and explain some of that. But before they do, it wouldn't be Eden without playing a game. And there's one game that got us through, it's got us out of many a sticky situation, but it got us through COVID. And it is the game of Bring Me. So you guys are going to, and grown-ups can play too. You're going to help supply some of the visual aids for this talk right now in exchange for chocolate. So first of all, your challenge is to be the first person to bring me something to do with community. Something that makes you think community. Look around. Can you think of anything? Can you find something? Bring me something that reminds you of community. First person to bring it to me, put it in my hand. Freddie, a phone. Why do you think a phone reminds you of community?
Because like on WhatsApp, you can have groups with your community with basically like call with basically anything.
Brilliant. You win a whisper. Well done. I'm not going to keep your phone. Thanks. Skills, Freddie. Well done. Okay. Second, I want something that makes you think of building. Building. Anything that makes you think building. You're bringing me your own hand, Isabel. Shall I just chop it off and put it in the table? Why have I got your hand?
Because you can use that to like build.
Because you can use that to like build. Brilliant. Well done. Hang on. What have we got here? We've got a Lego man. That's quite impressive. Have I got enough? Oh, have you just conceded? Have you just decided that Andy won there? There you go. You can share your whisper with Andy. Okay. We're in church. This should be easy. Bring me something that reminds you of Jesus. I'm not putting a baby on the table. Oh, well done, Faye. Oh, you brought a cross. Well done. You didn't win the race, but well done. And we've got a cross and we've got a Bible. Maybe Fee can share her whisper with you. Maybe Fee can share her whisper. Okay. Last one. Something that makes you, or something to do with water. Oh, Isabel, you can't win twice. Wowzer. It's for Beth. Okay. There we go. Who are we winning that for? Beth's in charge of that chocolate. I feel like you're going to have young people wrestling you for that. Okay. So keep those thoughts in mind. They're going to click into place in a minute. Hannah, Josh, and Sam, can you come up and share your little bit of what Eden is all about? So basically, Eden can be explained through this logo. And I've challenged these guys to have a few minutes each to talk about a different little bit of that. And Hannah, you're first.
Beautiful. So Karen asked me to talk about the proximity bit of Eden. So the bit that's represented by like the steps down on the logo, the bit about like living in the community that you're working with and the importance of being around, which is so core and so golden and so essential to what Eden is about, and makes me look like the biggest hypocrite in the world to talk about, because I don't live in Partington at the minute. But I will do soon. And I thought I'd talk about how I finally realized the importance of this proximity thing, because it makes me look very, very slow, but it does encapsulate the beauty of this being with and this proximity thing. So I came to Eden Partington as part of my university placement. So for 3 years, I drove from uni to here on a Thursday, did help with our abundance of beautiful youth groups, and then I skedaddled off at the end back to my university accommodation. And it was golden, and I had a lot of fun, and it was beautiful, and young people met Jesus, and I built relationship with young people and built relationship with the team, and it was beautiful. And not gonna lie, I didn't really see how what I was doing was any different to what the actual Eden team members were doing, because we were all building relationship and it was lovely. And yeah, they lived here, but you know, I was here on a Thursday, so it was fine. And it wasn't until 3 years of this, 3 years of rocking up on a Thursday, being here for a lovely 9 hours, and then running away, that it finally clicked for me 3 years later. And it happened in one evening right at the very end of my university placement. And I went out on detached for the first time properly. So like walking around Partington, chatting to young people who've got nothing to do with the church. Some want to talk to you, some don't. They haven't chosen to talk to you, you're just there. And a couple of things happened. I would say God orchestrated it. Maybe it was just coincidence, but the result was the same regardless. So a couple of things happened. The first one, I bumped into a young person that I had worked with in Broadoak, like right at the very beginning of my placement. And I hadn't seen her since, but she recognised my face and I luckily remembered her name. And we were able to chat a little bit and like rebuild that relationship. And that was golden. And then we kept walking and we bumped into some people from church, which, and I'm aware this sounds idiotic, was a novelty for me because I went to a church in the city. So I saw my church on a Sunday. And that was it. And I was like, oh, this is wild. You bump into church when you're in your community where your church is. Who knew? And then we kept walking, and Karen was able to have this conversation with a really fun group of lads, because they had Partington in common, and it gave her this like authority, maybe authority is the wrong word, but it gave her like this permission to have this conversation with this group of young people, because it was her town and therefore she had a right to be there, and therefore she had a right to chat about Jesus and why we were wearing green and what we were doing. And it was just cool to watch, and things started to click into place. And then just as we were on our way back, I don't know why I'm doing this, this isn't how we walk, but anyway, just as we were on our way back, Karen got like hollered or like ran at by a woman who had spotted the green t-shirt and ran at us. And it was a young person who you'd worked with like years and years and years ago, who had spotted the green and came to catch up. And I was like, oh, wow, there's a reason we dress like peas. It works. And it wasn't until all of those things happened on that evening, which again was 3 years after I'd been working with the Eden team, that I sat in our debrief and I was like, oh, I get it. Like being part of Eden is something different to just rocking up and running away, because there's something different when you're in the community and you get it and you can build relationship. And youth work, I would argue, I think this says a lot about me, but I think youth work it's just relationship. Like we're providing a space where young people build relationship with each other, where they build relationship with our lovely Eden team, and they get to see the beauty of relationship with God. And relationship is so much easier if you can actually relate. And the Eden team can actually relate because they're in it and they're doing it and they're around and they're seeing people. And I guess it's at the core of what we believe as Christians, right? Like we believe in this almighty, all-powerful God who chose to limit himself, come to earth to save us, and therefore can actually relate, because it's not just like theoretical head knowledge. Like, we believe in a God who's walked in a human body and walked on the earth. Like, it's core to what we believe about God. And I guess there's that beautiful verse in John 1 that's always quoted in the Message translation that says, "The word became flesh and blood and moved into the neighborhood." And I now appreciate that it's gorgeous that Eden takes that bit literal. Like, they move into the neighborhood and they commit to be there and to stay there. And that is so powerful and so gorgeous. And gorgeous is putting a bit too blah, blah, blah. But it it makes a difference because they're here and they get it. And therefore, the relationship is so much more than if you were just rocking up. Like, Jesus didn't just rock up and then drive away as quickly as he could. He stayed, and he sent his spirit to stay with us. And I love that the Eden team models that, and I get it now. And it just took me 3 years. But yes.
Hi everyone, I'm Josh. I'm like literally 3 weeks into Eden, so I've got a bit of a unique perspective, and I'm literally doing what Hannah was saying, is I am doing placement, so then I kind of run away, except I'm part of you guys and had the joy of joining the church family, which has been incredible and a great experience, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you all better as we go. So I'm here to talk about this little logo bit as well. However, there's another meaning to it as well, which is that it is a broken wall. And it's that symbolization of, like, as Eden, we're called to go and repair the broken walls. And granted, I've only been here like 3 weeks and I've loved Eden so far. Like, being able to serve young people and also at the same time learn has been incredible. Like, just this session just gone on Thursday, we were like preparing our session and like going about what we're going to do for the first session. And Karen had said, "Oh, are you up for doing like a 5-minute slot here like now as well?" I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." And we were talking about this specific question of what I do versus who I am. And recognizing that what I do or who I am, which one is more important? So we were wrestling with that for the youth session, and I was thinking, have to admit, rather like by myself, being like, it's definitely what I do. What I do is definitely the most important. Like, that's, it's all about doing. And then Karen gave this thing to talk about, and it's about broken walls, and it's from Isaiah 58, verse 12. And it says, "Your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age-old foundations. You will be called repairer of broken walls, restorer of streets with dwellings." Like, okay, this is backing up what I think. I'm like, this is all about doing. It's about doing. And I was getting really like into it. And then I remember having a conversation with Sam, which changed my mind. And also reading the verse just before completely transformed what I was thinking. So yes, okay, Eden is called to go and repair the broken walls. Eden is called to put themselves in a position where they aren't just living in luxury, aren't just doing the easy option, but rather they're choosing to serve God. They're choosing to go where there is a need, just like Jesus did. And that's the objective. That is what Eden does. However, just before in verse 11, we see it says, "The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. You will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail." Obviously, it goes on to verse 12. But that just sense of, actually, it's God who sustains us. It's God who is the person to lead us. And it's God who is going to be the person who actually we get to see through us, God using us to serve the young people. But as soon as we think it's all about us and doing, then we lose it. And I said a really, really corny phrase, like as we were talking to Sam and Hannah, and they were like, "You can't use that in a youth session." I was like, "No, you're right, I won't." But then I was reflecting, I was like, "But I could use it here." And it was just that it is basically what I do is the fruit. What Eden does is the fruit. But who I am, who Eden is, that is the root, that is the foundation, that is what matters. And who Eden is Jesus. Like, we are called to be Jesus-like, literally Christians in the name, like Jesus. And so not to forget that that's who we are. And so I would just ask that you could be praying for Eden, praying for us. Like, prayer is the engine room where these things happen. And prayer is also how we align our heart with God's heart. And I can say this honestly, like I'm not the best at like praying, and I'm trying to correct that because I'm aware that actually, if I want to be seen through God's eyes, not my own eyes, and that needs to happen. So yeah, I think I'm done, and I'll pass over to Sam.
Hello, I'm Sam. I joined just over a year ago. Crazy. The last part of being about Eden is that actually our logo is that broken wall. And the part that you need to replace that broken wall is the cross. So all of our Eden team, what we do is not for the glory of us, it's for the glory of Jesus, and it's all about him. At the end of the day, all the youth groups that we run, whether it's going out and detached, whether it's the 14 to 16s, the year 7s to 9s, or the age 16 plus, it's all the aim of spreading Jesus and the love of Jesus. And one of my favorite verses in the Bible is actually John 14, verse 6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. And as Eden, it is like we want to dig this into kids' hearts. We want to show them that Jesus is that way. He's the truth. He's the life. And that when you come to know him, your life can be transformed. You can change. And that, some of our kids, there's some difficult conversations we have. It's like some kids don't think they're enough. Some kids don't think they are worth it. And it's like, it kills me. It hurts me inside to be like, hang on a second. Why do you think that way? Like, what's going on? And it happened on Thursday. We had a conversation with these lads, and they were like, we wrote down all these different things about what do you like about yourself. But we were like, you are forgiven, you are saved, but it just found it awkward. And it was like, it just completely broke me inside, because I'm like, there's a God there. There is Jesus there who died for you on the cross, and who knows you are worth it. You are more than anything to him, because he created you. He loves you. And so that is the whole aim of everything we do. It is all about Jesus. And we want to pray that as a team, we want to ask you to pray that we can see more young people come to church, because that would be brilliant. It would be brilliant if we can get all of our youth to come to church. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys. So 10 to 11 years on, where are we at today? In all honesty, a couple of years ago, I was wondering if we were on our last year. Some key people were in different seasons of their lives. Key people had moved on. There wasn't much of a core team left. But then over recent months, I've had more of a sense of we're just getting started, which sounds a little bit scary. But chatting to people and chatting to this team we've got now, and how excited they are, and how much they really get what Eden is about, it's so encouraging to me. And we've got a generation of young people who have heard about Jesus one way or another, whether it's through school or through detached work or through youth clubs. So many young people in our community have heard the gospel. They've had us pray for them. They've had those opportunities to respond to the gospel. We've had young people who have made commitments. We've had given away so many Bibles. All of those opportunities to share Jesus. But I know that, if I'm honest, I'd hoped that by now that would mean we would have loads of young people who've come to faith through our work and are now here in our church. I'd hoped and prayed that by now we would have young people who'd grown up in the faith through our work and were now doing my job. And we're not quite there yet. So where's the fruit? I would say that I think partly the fruit is in all of the young leaders that we have raised up and sent out. All of the people who've had those great those opportunities to serve and to learn and to grow in their faith by being part of the team. But I think there's more than that as well. So at the end of our sessions, every time we do a youth group, we have a little debrief session, we have a little chat. And for most of that time, we've been doing these online forms. And from my stats, I reckon that means we've done 1,000 of those online forms, which means we've done a lot, like over 1,000 youth group sessions, right? And we've done over 1,000 sessions with young people. And within that, we've also done some other stuff. I can't remember what I put on these slides. I have them somewhere. 10 years of detached work, 10 years of going out in the cold, the dark, the rain, sometimes the sunshine, sometimes the snow. We played football in the snow once. That wasn't very health and safety. Of just going out and sharing Jesus with people on the streets. And sometimes that's getting told to F off. And sometimes that's praying for healing and seeing healing. Sometimes that's inviting someone to church. You just don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes it's getting off of drugs. You don't know what's going to happen, but it's always interesting. And we always get to share Jesus with people. We've also, over 1,000 youth group sessions. We've also had 10 years of trips, as Beth mentioned, trampoline parks, taking the PCSO and the most adventurous Partington youth up trees in Heaton Park. Loads of, and very young Gracie May, loving that. Gracie's not. 10 years of taking young people on camps, on festivals, to a caravan park. And 10 years of taking young people to events where they were going to hear people a lot cooler than us tell them about Jesus. 10 years of leadership training. Just last week, we had our leadership lunch. We had to borrow a table from church because there was too many of us to fit around my table. And over the years, we've done these leadership academies where we've given young people the opportunity to just build their confidence, to learn to lead like Jesus, and to step out and take risks. That's the picture of Beth's favourite story. 10 years of just stepping out and investing in young people. And that, as much as we might not be seeing all of the fruit of that right now visibly, there's stuff going on in people's hearts, right? That is a lot of seeds planted. And I genuinely believe it has made a difference. Now, you'll notice we haven't actually mentioned this bit of the things I asked you to bring me earlier. And a few years ago, I got a little bit obsessed with the idea of funny-looking fish. And based on this bit in Ezekiel, so there's this passage that talks about rivers of water flowing out of the temple, and verses 6 to 10 says this: swarms of living creatures will live wherever the river flows. There will be large numbers of fish because this water flows there and makes the salt water fresh. So where the river flows, everything will live. Fishermen will go and stand along the shores in places I can't pronounce, and there will be places for spreading nets. The fish will be of many kinds, like the fish of the Mediterranean Sea. And just in my head, I get a picture of all those fish that just look really weird and wonderful that you only see on strange TV shows that we don't even know exist. Life that doesn't quite look like we expect life to look like. And I think that is a little bit sometimes like the life we see through Eden. Because someone responding to Jesus, someone receiving Jesus into their life doesn't automatically mean that they will be free on a Sunday morning. It doesn't automatically mean that their parents will let them go to church or even stay for the God slot at a youth group. It doesn't automatically mean that their vaping addiction or their social media addiction will stop. It doesn't automatically mean that they will be able to sit and behave for an entire church service. But it does mean that Jesus is bringing new life. And it does mean that young people are hearing that God loves them and maybe even getting to share that with their families. And the work we're doing and the work that you as an amazing church family are doing does mean that we have a place here where young people know that they are welcome, where they are loved, and where they can find out that they matter because they matter to Jesus. And it's such an exciting privilege to be part of that and to see that. But new life doesn't always look how we expect it. Sometimes it looks like a funny looking fish lurking in the bottom of the sea, and we're not quite sure what's going on. So I'm going to wrap up soon, but before I do, what does Eden Partington look like now? Now, through the wonders of borrowing students from theological colleges and the Message Trust, we have Epic Thursdays because that's when I've got team. So we do a lot of youth groups on a Thursday. We go into Broad Oak and we do a lunch club and we get to speak to loads of young people about Jesus. It used to be a year 7 thing because then people grew out of it. The year 10s just won't leave. So now we have like 3 different tables of lunch club going on in a classroom at the same time so we can have more meaningful conversations with more young people. Then we have a youth group here. And we've decided this term to split that into boys and girls so we can have more meaningful conversations and we can do some of that chatting about relationships and all of that stuff as well, and identity without people having to like act a bit cocky to impress somebody. None of that. And then we've got our younger youth group, and we are seeing more new year sevens coming into church and coming into youth, and that's really, really exciting. And then we have our older youth, which is way more chilled, apart from every now and then we just have to play a stupid game because we need to get the giggles out somehow. And it's such an encouragement to see those guys not only listening and growing in their faith and asking for us to make more space to meet with Jesus, but also sometimes we can just have them a plan and they run the session for us. And they're like, yeah, I'll be in charge today. I can do this. And it is so exciting to see that growth. And then on top of that, we've got the mentoring, we've got the team members just going out and meeting one-to-one to have those deeper chats with people, help them grow in their faith. We've got detached work. We're still going out on the streets, chatting to people about Jesus, helping people know that they matter. We've got lots going on, lots of opportunities to speak into young people's lives. And we've got team. We've got some of the core team that you've met today. We've got some amazing volunteers from this church and other churches who are helping to keep the work running, people who are helping to run youth church on a Sunday. And we are so blessed to have all of them. So what from here on in? What next? I would love to see more young people getting to know Jesus. And I really feel like the way we've set up the youth work this term to be able to have more meaningful conversations, less chaos, I feel like that could really happen. So do be praying for that. Do be praying for young people who've just been kind of on the edge of faith for a long time. I really think we're beginning to see our leaders and our team step up and take more and more responsibility to a point where they don't need me anymore. People know what they're doing. People are serving, people are loving Jesus and loving our young people. And we want to be growing our team as leaders, and we want to be growing our young people as leaders. You might have noticed that over the last few years, I've been a bit distracted doing things like being up here instead of in there. Been a bit distracted with other church stuff. And that means I have took my eye off the ball with some stuff. I've took my eye off the ball with fundraising. We are spending money way faster than we are raising it at the moment because I've just done nothing about it for 2 years. So do be praying for finances. If you want to start giving to the work of Eden, you can set that up into the normal church bank account and just earmark it as just put, on the what it's for, just say Eden. That can happen. And do be praying for us. Do be praying as this work continues. Do you want me to hand over to you or straight into a song? Okay, Ben, do you want to come up and let me just pray for us as we offer all of this to God, all that we've heard to God? Yeah, Father God, thank you that you love each one of us. And thank you for the ministry of this church, whether through Eden or through just the quiet, gentle people cracking on with following you and sharing you with your friends. And Lord, we want to thank you for everything that you have done, for all the people that you've led to yourself. And Lord, we ask that you would do more through us or despite us, that you would lead more and more people in this community to know you. Lord, we want to praise you. Lord, we want to say thank you.